Hey friends! Welcome back to my channel. Today is a different video because it's the start of a series that I think you're gonna like. My best friend has been asking me to do this for a long time, so I'm finally doing it. I want to give you some time-saving hacks because guess what? I'm a webcomic artist and we don't waste any time because we can't. Otherwise our hands would fall off. So today's video focuses on sketching. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this and you really liked it by the end, make sure to press like before you leave so that I know that you liked it. That's why it's there. I'm going to be using this illustration of my character Keenan. The reason why I'm using an illustration I've already made for this is because webcomics are not supposed to have full, beautiful, intricate, totally detailed illustrations in every single panel. You are guaranteed to burn out if you do that. So I'm going to be deciding how to save time in the step-by-step process so that one panel can take me about 30 minutes to an hour. And it's very possible you can do this too, I'm sure of it, and I'm going to show you how. Alright, so I have Keenan here. I'm going to decide what I would do if I was drawing him for a webcomic rather than for an illustration. Here is the original on the left, and then here is the sketch that's underneath the original on the right. As for a time-saving hack, there's a number of things that I can look at this sketch and say that I would like to change to make it easier on myself. Try to guess a few right now that could possibly save me time. The other thing about time-saving hacks for sketches and comics is that if you have a good sketch underneath your panels, it's going to be way easier to do your actual panel for the comic. But I have found that there are certain ways that I can limit what I'm doing, and if I do it from the moment I'm sketching, then I'm setting myself up to have an easier time drawing the rest of my panel. So I'm going to probably draw the sketch and position him in a way that I know I have a good background for. I'm not going to draw him with some crazy outfit that I don't want to repeat 5 million times. You will draw your characters 5 million times. I'm not kidding. We're going to break down this sketch. I'm going to plop a new page on this side. The first thing I could say about this sketch is that I did not need to draw every, like I kind of got the point of how his hair would go if I just made it into a big blockier shape, so I could see how I could save time there. I didn't have to draw little details on his eyebrows. Otherwise, I feel like I did everything pretty quickly. You can tell that I was using really loose lines, which is important for sketching, but also like I made it very clear for myself later of what I wanted the line art and the structure of his face to look like. My sketch isn't all muddy and making me confused. You don't really need to add a lot of lines, and that's one of my time-saving hacks. So let's plop the little sketch over here and make him smaller. And on Clip Studio Paint you can also move this around. This goes for Photoshop and most other digital things. You can kind of place your canvases, so I like to sometimes put a little reference on the side of what I need to remember my drawing needs to look like, or if I want to remember how a character looks when they're new, which is very useful when you're first starting out. I think the positioning of him is fine, but like I was saying before, if you would like to save time during your comics, I would definitely make sure that he does not have a big elaborate outfit. That's really difficult for certain genres like sci-fi or fantasy where, like, you know, they're gonna have some more elaborate outfits sometimes, but if you can plan your outfits and design your character in a way that makes it really easy, then that's what I would suggest. It's going to basically save you days of your time, possibly months or years. I'm not joking. With this basic sketch, the way that I'm drawing his face is a way that I draw a lot of my characters' faces. Basically, I will give them a big circle for the head, I'll give them just like a little U-ish shape for their chin, and then I'll give them 2 little loops on the sides for their ears. And then from there, I can decide, like, you know, how is he feeling in this original portrait? I think that he's feeling pretty contemplative, so we want to make sure to address that with comics. you probably want to maybe exaggerate that because people are looking at your comics like probably much faster than a regular illustration. People tend to just whip right through it, so that is another reason why it's really great to save time. Because of that, I'm going to bend him forward a little bit more of like a contemplative thinking, because he has a little bit of that bending action in the original one, but we're going to basically make that more extreme. And if you don't like how your head is tilted, I use the selection tool lasso to just pick his head, and I transform his head so that it's just tilted a little bit more, maybe brought a little bit down. Okay, so far I would say this part of the sketch wouldn't have taken me very long. I'd probably do this faster. Ways that I've shortened it, just to give you an example, is that I have a way that I'm going to draw everyone's ears. I know how, like, they're just going to have one line right here, one line going in a big arc like this, another line like that. So that's 4 lines in total that I'm going to have every single time. And it just becomes part of muscle memory. You just draw the same ear over and over, and you can change the shape of the earlobe, you can change how big the ears are, but you have a basic structure of like, this is how I draw humans. So one of the hacks that I do for noses is that I'll just kind of draw a little U shape right here. Some people just stick with this, they don't even add nostrils. But what I like to do also is just to give this little edge of your nose right here. I'll just create that because oftentimes this is where the shadow is on the nose. That just kind of tells me ahead of time, this is where I want the cutoff of the shadow going to be under their nose. Usually lights and the sun are above us, so it's going to cast a shadow underneath, like with the lights shining down underneath the nose. I usually just draw a little bow shape, so more little U's, and then so I can see on his original illustration that this part was a little more pointed, this part of his lip was a little flatter where it went up. So I mean, you can already see that it's starting to have some more consistency of what his character looks like. So even though I have these same simple shapes, like I would draw my other character's Hayato's lips, like I'd give him maybe like a fuller lip like this, but I still have the same basic pieces. You know, I have this bottom part, I have this little center U, the U that's like right above it and usually makes the same shape, and then these 2 little side pieces. Usually the eyebrows are just in line with the tops of his ears, so what I'm going to do is just make a big block for his eyebrows. Your hands will eventually just start getting used to the shape of the block because, as you can see, I've drawn this 5 billion times. And then the way to differentiate between characters can also be used through the eyebrows. So same with like on the nose, you can make the nose wider. You can have the sides of the nose where the shadow is cast be more angular. You can make the ball of the nose a little more shape or tighten the nostrils, all sorts of things, which by the way I need to do on him. And then since he looks very serious, I'm going to have his eyelids facing down because he's looking down. Just 2 little parallel-ish lines. For sketches, as a personal tip, I always make sure to draw the pupils because where the pupils position can tell a lot. So I can see that with how I first drew his pupil, it was not covered enough by his upper eyelid, which usually means that I did not give him a serious enough expression. And that's how to fix it. So again, if I don't like any of the positionings of this, or I can see that they're off in some way, I can just use the selection tool and then move it however I would like to. So any details beyond this point are basically not necessary for me to know. Like, I know how the character is structured basically. His hair has a few basic shapes, so I can look at my reference to see this is kind of where his hairline is, and then I can just say, yes, you're going to draw some curls, and just making huge S shapes for curls as just a way to communicate that, yeah, his hair is curly. In the back here, I'm making different shapes. I'm showing that I would like his ear to be showing for sure, and then a few lines to tell me to arc his hair up and out. This is just all telling me what position everything is in, but at the same time, I still kind of know what he's going to look like at the end of this. From then on, since I gave him more of an extreme positioning, I'm just going to make a big loop for where I would like his shirt to go, and then just do some little collarbones because you know what, why not? And he did have earrings, so these are details that I can just throw on at the very end in just very simple shapes because I know what it's going to look like just from that. Just looking at these two things now, first of all, I can see just some minor things that I would like to fix about the structure of his face. The lasso selection tool and transform are your friends. They're going to help you just make whatever you're trying to express happen without having to totally redraw it. I recommend doing that, like using the selection tool as much as you can for the sketches so that it does not damage the lines you're going to make, because a lot of brushes for line art just gets totally jacked up if you try to separate it in any way, and it's very hard to redraw it. Let's look at the basic differences between this sketch and this illustration. Let's imagine for a second you're a reader of a webcomic with Keenan in it, and I'm wanting to express to you that he's feeling very contemplative, but also internal contemplation. Because in this original illustration, you can kind of see a little bit of that, but you might need a second to stare at it, which is why it's an illustration. For the webcomic version, I've tilted him forward and in a little bit more. If you think of body posture, it just kind of makes him seem more inwardly focused because he's literally leaning inwards. I feel like that comes across split second. You look at it and you know he's not feeling very outwardly expressive. I feel like I have less questions on what he's feeling in this sketch. So that's time saving hack number one, because that's going to translate into your line art, and you always want to make your sketches more expressive than usual. So let's try to do this again as fast as possible to try to save time, because even with this sketch I took my time to explain it to you. So I'm going to show you that it can still be done quickly. So what I'm going to do is screen record the stopwatch on my phone, and you can see it in the corner. I'm going to see how fast I can do this using all of our time-saving hacks. So first we're going to do, I always do a head for the basic structure of the head, then I do this big arc, a line for a chin, another arc, two little loops for his ears, and I'm positioning them in a way where I know that he's going to be facing down. Then just to remind myself, I'll draw a line right there. So facing down, this little arc for his eyebrows, doing some big blocks. I'm just basically blocking it out. They don't have to look perfect. I'm just getting the personality of his eyebrows in there. He has very bold and arched eyebrows. Then I'm doing these little arched shapes. I'm making sure that his pupil is as covered as I want it to be, and it's not, so I can already see that I have to adjust where his bottom eyelid is to make him look like he's squinting harder. And I can already see some structural things, so just to fix it as I see it, I'm using the selection tool, lasso tool, and then I am transforming it. This is my personal little hack. I make a little U for the nose, but you don't have to do that. You can just do one little U. I'm remembering that his bottom lip is very straight, and then the top lip has an angular shape, and that looks like him, so great. I'm gonna move on. He's leaning forward, he's very contemplative, so his shoulders are kind of behind his ears. I'm drawing the same shirt on him that I've drawn 5 billion times, so it's arced like that. I already know the shape. And here's a line for his collarbones, here's a little hair. I know that I want big pieces on the side, and that there's his part right here, and here's the basic structure of his hair behind him. Since we want it to be up close, I'm fine with it going off the page. So beyond this part, let's see, we're at 2 minutes. I did a very relaxed sketch. We're gonna keep going and just add a couple of details just to show you how fast it is, because at this point I already know how his ears are shaped, I know how many piercings he has, so I just put little details on to remind myself, and that's it. We're gonna stop the timer. It's like a little over 2.5 minutes. This obviously isn't the best sketch I've ever done, and I'm not saying that to diss myself. I'm saying that because if I was doing the best sketch I've ever done, I would not be saving time. I already know, like, at this point with your webcomic characters, you've drawn them so many times that you know them by heart, you know? I know how his hair is generally supposed to look. Like, I know that it's supposed to arc out from the middle, that it's going to have a little piece, like a big chunky pieces on the sides right here, and that the rest is going to be behind his ears and the general shape of it. Probably already drawn your character in the scene, so you know how their shirt's going to look. You can make a big basic shape for this shirt, and because it's a close-up, I don't have to draw all the details of the shirt, you know? Like, if I really want to, I can just put some little folding lines right here and everyone knows, like, yeah, that's fabric, that's a shirt. Like, it doesn't have to be totally detailed and masterful. Your sketches are just a base structure for you to do your job in the best way possible, and part of that is saving time. I know that I can look at this sketch and get the gist of, like, yeah, you know, he's supposed to be feeling serious. His eyebrows are generally supposed to be this shape. Eyes are closed this amount. I don't think that this is that much further off from this, because when I was doing this, I had more time to basically waste time to tell you all the parts of the structure of a character. I feel like if I knew Keenan better, I'd probably draw him better in this sketch, but you know what? Nobody's gonna have to see this usually in a webcomic. You're not going to post this sketch at all, so as long as it gets the job done. Like, I know some webcomic artists just do this. They just draw a head, eyes looking down this way, and you're like, oh wait, no, they're serious, so like they're like this, and then like that. That's their sketch. Because you already know your character, so once you go to draw it. But I personally feel like instead of having to then redraw it all and go back to like creating this, like, just save time, cut corners on big, like, make big blocks of hair, use just the same simple shapes of like little U shapes for the eyes, like one eyelid, the other eyelid. The nose is a U shape, the lips have U shapes. If you're gonna do a full lip, you could just do one line in the middle for the mouth, and then a big U shape for the chin, and a circle for the head, and two little loops for the ears. Like, that's what's basically necessary. If you get that basic structure down, then you're making it easier for yourself to look at this and be like, oh yeah, I know what I'm gonna do with this sketch, rather than just having it be like, okay, this is the basic thing of what I want it to look like, and it'll eventually hopefully look like that. Because I feel like it'd be very easy to line on top of this. Okay, anyway. There's going to be another time-saving hacks video on lining, coloring, shading, and other general stuff if you end up liking these videos. So once again, make sure to let me know by pressing like or commenting below and telling me your thoughts, anything that you're confused about and want more clarity on. I will see you next time. Happy comicking and good luck, my fellow weirdos. I'm certain that you can do it. Bye!